back to the Evans Garage. Today we're here on this 2006 Tucson and we're replacing the rear struts as well as the rear sway bar end links. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is loosen these sensor mounts, two 10mm bolts. That'll just pop right off and move out of the way. Next thing we're going to do is loosen the sway bar end link nuts. Alright, so the ball joint just popped out. It's no big deal. Alright, next thing we're going to do is take a 19mm socket and a 17mm wrench and loosen the lower strut bolts. Might be a good idea to buy new lower strut bolts while you're doing this replacement. Alright, so even my high torque impact was struggling taking that off, which is the first time that's actually happened when I've used this tool. All I did was heat it up with a propane torch on the nut for about a minute or two, and this will just blast right off. Alright, so I don't know why I was struggling so hard with that bottom bolt, but the bottom bolt was just really kind of glued in on that side, so I ended up using a chisel between the strut and the knuckle, kind of trying to separate it as much as I could, and I just really couldn't get it. I was using the PB blaster, I was using the torch, pry bars, everything, hammer. I just did that for like half an hour, 45 minutes almost, and finally got it loose, but I pretty much destroyed the bolt in the process, so we'll see if I can go get another one before I put that back together. But in the meantime, we got the bottom loose. Now we can go into the trunk here and loosen those upper bolts. We'll be able to pull this whole strut out. All right, and so for the top mounts on the rear, just take a screwdriver, pop that rear cap off, and you have access to the 3 nuts. All right, they're actually 12mm. Okay, now that I have the top nuts off, I can pull this strut out of here. Alright, we're just snugging the nuts down on the top side. I don't have the torque spec for this, but just get it nice and snug. And then we'll go and throw the lower bolts in and tighten those guys up. Alright, so I got the sway bar end link off. It was a bit of a pain. At this point, I'm going to put the knuckle up into the new strut and get a bolt in there, just so it's in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to throw these sensor mounts back on. Okay, I'm going to take the new sway bar end link and we'll throw it in here. And I'm just going to snug it down tight. And same on the bottom. Snug this guy up. Alright, so for the lower strut bolts, I'm going to torque them down to about 100 foot-pounds. I got a new bolt. So keep in mind the proper thing to do here is to get the factory bolts and nut, because it's a flange bolt and a flange nut, probably a flange locking nut. But I just got these grade 8 bolts, 2 washers, a spring washer, and then a nut from Lowe's. So I'm going to use these. Okay, so that wraps up the replacement of the rear strut and sway bar end link on this Hyundai Tucson. Overall, not too bad of a job. I really found the job of doing the parking brake cable and innards of the parking brake are a little bit more challenging. The strut really isn't too bad of a job as long as you can get that bolt out okay. And again, I would recommend getting a factory set of bolts for the lowers if you can when you're doing this job, and that'll make your life a little bit easier. So at this point, we can throw the front and rear wheels back on, and we've replaced the struts in this Hyundai Tucson. Hopefully this helped you if you're looking to replace the struts in your Tucson, and thanks for watching. Cheers.